Welcome to the March 29, 2018 episode of the Reactive Consciousness podcast, our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, Vysethebold, and I just got this off in the first try.
Get out of here. Whoa.
And this is...
Lotus... Now I messed up. Start over. Lotus Prince. Second try.
PyroJackFrost. First try also.
I'm the
You
only
need to
one
step
who
up your
blew
game,
it.
Lotus.
Man, this is bad. This is not boding well. I knew I should have bewared. I knew I should have been aware of the Ides of March. But now I'm paying for my hubris.
Now the 29s of March.
Yeah, the 29s.
So anyway, so this week we would like to react to a controversy, I guess, that's happening. And Lotus knows a lot more about it than me or Pyro do, but I liked hearing a little bit of scoop. What's going on?
Well, I will tell you this, and I'll drop the link later. But if you're interested in hearing the scoop, then man, you can have your fill. But in any case, I had addressed on Tuesday that I'd be stepping down from the Channel Awesome website. I have been there for a little bit over 5 years. I remember exactly when I was admitted because the date was amusing. It was July 13th, and 2012. And the reason I know the date is that it was ironically Friday the 13th. And I was sounds like superstition doesn't work for me. So I was overjoyed about that. Now, when I was first admitted to the site, this was back when it was not Channel Awesome. It was, I guess you could say the company name was Channel Awesome, but the website was not yet. The website was still thatguywiththeglasses.com. And they had relatively recently created an entirely separate website for video game content. That Guy with the Glasses was for, reviews. So they had some blogs on there. They don't really do blogs anymore, but they had blogs on there. They had, obviously, the Nostalgia Critic stuff where he reviews bad movies. The Nostalgia Critic, for anyone who does not know, is kind of like the angry video game nerd who just goes off on bad movies. He has since greatly expanded his repertoire, but that was kind of his thing. When I first heard of him, it was the angry video game nerd except for movies. So that was mostly what he was doing at the time. And there were people like Linkara who reviewed comic books, Bennett the Sage who reviewed, I think he was still on there because he reviewed, but it was video games. He's since stopped doing that and now reviews anime.
Spoonie was on there too, wasn't he?
Spoonie was on there. He was reviewing games and movies. There was a whole review thing going on. Blistered Thumbs was more specifically for video games, and because Let's Plays, they had people on That Guy with the Glasses who did Let's Plays, but that wasn't their thing. For example, I've mentioned this before, but the reason I got inspired to do Let's Plays in the first place was because of a guy, Paw. His name is Paul, but P-A-W, Paw, was his username. And he primarily reviewed music, but yeah, sometimes he'd do Let's Plays. So, it was on the site. But for people like me who just do video game stuff, that was more for the site called Blistered Thumbs, which is a great name, by the way.
Sure.
So I was admitted not to That Guy with the Glasses, but to Blistered Thumbs. Now, eventually, the Blistered Thumbs site was shut down, but they kind of had a merger for some people, so I was kind of admitted to That Guy with the Glasses that way, which was a benefit for me, because when I was on Blistered Thumbs, I kind of had to let people know, hey, I have a new video, can you put it up? Whereas when I'm on the main site, I can just deal with that myself. It's kind of nice.
Sure.
So I will start this by saying that I do not personally have any delicious drama stories or anything like that. I barely had any interaction with any of the higher ups, which is kind of a lot of the problem for a lot of the people who joined the site later. It's just they're there, but there's no one of the major problems of That Guy with the Glasses, Channel Awesome, whatever, was communication or lack thereof, especially with the head of the site. He has since gotten another person who can kind of act as the sort of There's a word for it, but the person you
So
talk
the
to.
nostalgia critic is the guy who runs it, right? Isn't he?
No, he's the face of the site, but he's not like the CEO of the site. Like
But he's the guy with the glasses.
he is. You got him. He's the main talent, but the head of the site is somebody else, Mike Michaud. Whereas the nostalgia critic is Doug Walker. So Doug Walker's the guy you've heard of, but Mike Michaud's the guy who actually runs the site behind the scenes and everything. But it's relatively difficult to communicate with them. Like, he's got a Skype and everything, but before he got a different person to do his communications, you could wait a good long time before getting any kind of response. It was rather frustrating. But
He just wouldn't respond to emails, that kind of thing.
We did it through Skype. Honestly, this is gonna sound freaking stupid, but now that you mention it, I don't even know if I know what his email is.
Wow.
There was
That's the typical is.
Yeah, not that I asked,
email.
but yeah, the go-to thing was Skype. Not necessarily calling. You could type on Skype, but still, yeah. He probably has an email, but it was never relevant to me. But now that you mention it, you'd think that the email would kind of be the thing that everybody has. If you have the internet at all, you probably have email, where you may not have Skype.
Well, email is the typical. Outside of talking directly or on the phone, it's the major form of communication in any business.
That's the thing. You Skype is its own program. Maybe you use Yahoo, maybe you use Gmail or whatever, but emails, you can talk to anybody who has any kind of email with email, so it is quite convenient that way. I don't know. I mean, props for Skype for having a more one-to-one, you could have a conversation on Skype, even in text.
It's an evolved version of AIM.
Exactly, AIM. Yeah, but but that as the primary communication medium, that's kind of bizarre. But the thing with Channel Awesome is I was just there. I told the scheduling site, this is where my video is going to go, and then that's where my videos went.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, okay, it's another place to embed my videos from YouTube. So if you don't watch me on YouTube, you watch me on Channel Awesome, then you can watch me on Channel Awesome. So what was really cool about that guy with the glasses way back in the day was that this was 2008. YouTube was new. I didn't join it until 2012, but YouTube is kind of just the thing people use now. But with that guy with the glasses, it was cool because it was an aggregate site. I went there because I heard of the Nostalgia Critic, but on the front page they had a bunch of different people posting their own stuff there, and that was not unique, but that was relatively uncommon at the time, at least from what I had seen. So I could be I'm here for you, but oh wait, look at this. This guy reviews comic books. I'll give him a shot, I guess. Oh wow. Turns out I'm a fan now, and so
it was a network, yeah. It was,
pretty much, yeah.
A way where you could find like-minded content.
That's the thing, because with YouTube you can have related videos and stuff, but if there's someone you really want to follow, you kind of have to know about them, or maybe you can look for the name of the movie or the game or whatever thing you're looking for, and you might stumble across them. But with the aggregate site, it's here's a bunch of people that review stuff. This is the comic person. This is one of the movie people. And so you can get it more easily that way. It was a much more condensed list of recommended videos.
It's basically how it sells itself. It's like a channel. It's going to a place where you can find, similar programming.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. Now, at this point, a lot of these people who have been on the site have been on there for a while. And if you want to follow them, then you can probably just do that on their own YouTube channels anyway. So at this point, from what I've heard, certain people would be put on, I don't know about put on the site, but maybe in their big crossover videos as sort of more of a way of pimping out the main site itself and things like that, as opposed to the other way around, where it's pimping out other people instead of the main attraction you're there for. So the aggregate website doesn't have as much relevance 10 years later as it did when YouTube was almost brand new. So it was the site's been kind of getting less relevant anyway. I myself would go to channelawesome.com to watch the Nostalgia Critic's videos because he uploads to Vimeo first before YouTube, because he does a lot of movie clips, and YouTube doesn't like movie clips. So I would go to Channel Awesome for him. But anyone else I want to follow, I'm just subbed to their YouTube channels. So, like, there are people I follow I've never, like, at this point, I don't even ever see on Channel Awesome, because the Nostalgia Critic has videos on Tuesdays. If they don't, then I just never see their videos on Channel Awesome, because they're already on my YouTube subscription feed. I don't need Channel Awesome to see them. I already know who they are, ironically, because of the aggregate site. But now that I do, I can just see their stuff as soon as they upload it, instead of a couple days later when it's scheduled to show up on the aggregate site. So It's kind of had like an almost reverse effect. And I'm sure the same thing applies to people. If anybody discovered me through Channel Awesome, I think I still am like 95% discovered through YouTube itself, but who the hell knows? But whatever. But so the site was getting a little less relevant because of that on principle. But also, I don't know what the logic behind this was, but this was not true for that guy with the glasses. But with Channel Awesome, there's just a lot of ads, to the point where, like, it slows down my internet when I'm watching somebody's video, because they have, like, the autoplaying, if muted, that's fine, but, like, autoplayed stuff on the sides, and it's frustrating to just deal with.
Autoplay is, like, the worst kind of ad, I feel.
That is the bane, yeah. Even if it's muted, it's like, now you're taking up my, I don't know what the word is, RAM or bandwidth or whatever. But, so even if I would look for, even with the Nostalgia Critics videos, I would go to channelawesome.com, I would click on his update, and then, you know how on YouTube videos, if you're watching it embedded somewhere, there's the YouTube logo on the lower right, and you could click that to pop open a window on YouTube's page itself?
Sure.
Like, I'll just do that with Vimeo. I'll be like, I'm not sitting through this, I'm going to watch it directly on Vimeo. But that's not the drama side. That's the reason why just on principle, the site's becoming less relevant than it used to be. Like, if they ever want to turn it into just the Nostalgia Critic site, kind of like how James Rolfe has Cinemassacre, like, it's him and Mike Matei, and Ryan, like, it's just us, they don't have an aggregate, it's just their own website. If they ever want to do that, then okay, but as an aggregate, just aggregate sites in general, now that YouTube has become so goddamn big, are just, I will say unfortunately, becoming less relevant than they were before, where YouTube was clunkier and you could actually find people you hadn't heard of when there was a smaller pool, before everybody started doing, like, I want to become an internet reviewer too. Like, I was one of those people. Not that I'm a reviewer, but, like, I wanted to join that guy with the glasses. Like, that's kind of a big part of why I started doing Let's Play in the first place. So I couldn't fucking believe it when I actually got admitted to it, because that was not the most common thing. But I just kind of existed there. Again, it was a place to post my videos, and it's all good. But what I was not aware
Any exposure's good exposure,
That's the thing. Yeah, it's like, you know what? Sure. People go to that guy with the glasses, because when I joined, it was still that guy with the glasses. So people went there, and maybe they would see my thing on there too. So there were definitely some people who checked me out on day one, because they didn't know who I was. They were like, oh, a new person. Okay. Some of them liked me, some of them didn't. Fine. The people who stayed. So that was cool for that reason. Look at that. New audience. Cool. I opened with Eternal Darkness. It was good times. But, I was, we're talking like 4 years into the site, maybe? Because I want to say it was 2008, because they're getting ready for their 10th anniversary special, and the current year is 2018. So I want to say the third, possibly the fourth, but I want to say maybe the third wave of producers who was accepted. But what I was not aware of was that the first couple of waves of producers definitely had some baggage that I was unaware of at the time, but has been kind of... There were rumors about it, like, a few years in, and maybe some of them are true, and maybe some of them are just, like, false rumors spread by people who just want to disparage the site because some people are jerks. Like, there were websites at the time that were, like, dedicated pretty much to that purpose, just a bunch of assholes. So, I don't know, maybe there's a grain of truth to some of this.
Sounds like a lot of wasted time on bullshit.
No kidding. Just rabble-rousing. So, like, I mean, some of the rumors... Rabble. Oh, of course. I mean, there may have been a grain of truth to some of this stuff, but, like, I don't know what the hell it is. So, like, and then I heard some people, like, some of the actual Channel Awesome producers expressing grievances about this or that here and there. And it was one of those things that came off like, oh, that sounds frustrating. But, that sucks, but, like, I don't know, like because certain things didn't sound like nightmares. It was just like, that sounds obnoxious. Like difficulties when filming, and just like the aforementioned communication just not being a thing. That's quite frustrating.
Sure.
But it's not necessarily enough to make you quit.
It's not a deal breaker. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, this sucks. You really should improve, but like, I'll suck it up. You know, it's not gonna interfere with my life. But a week ago or so, it kind of like, I'm not gonna say it all came out, but a lot came out, and it wasn't even like supposed to happen. One of the producers was posting on Twitter about whatever. It was just about what she was posting about. It wasn't even Channel Awesome related. And she was one of the people who'd already been off the site for a few years now. So she was posting about just something, and I forgot what prompted this. But like, every once in a while, somebody asks, hey, did you know that someone on Channel Awesome also reviewed this? Or like, what do you think about that person you used to work with, or whatever? But like, whenever those questions came up, she'd be like, yeah, no, I don't follow that anymore. I'm totally done with them. You know, that kind of thing. But not everybody knows, because you have to be on Twitter at that time to read that tweet. You know, like that's not going to be on her front page if she posts 100
like pinned somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. Like if I make 100 tweets per day, you're not going to see most of those tweets unless you feel like scrolling down on my personal page, you know? So not everybody knows this. So every once in a while, you know, it's really frustrating. It's like it's like the teacher problem, or like honestly any YouTuber problem, where like different people might ask you questions, and they're perfectly valid questions, but you've been teaching for 20 years, you're sick of this goddamn question, even though that student did nothing wrong, you know? So like, somebody asked something, and she was like, all right, no, look, like, this kind of thing happened back then, it drove me crazy, I hated it, so I'm moving on in my life. But for some reason, off of that post, other former Channel Awesome members, and even some current ones, said something like, oh yeah, I had a thing too, or that reminds me of this other thing, and that conversation fucking exploded. Like, it just kept going with more and more input from various people, and I had posted something in there on the early stages, because I happened to be there, right place, right time, and I was posting in there a little bit, but because I had posted in a really early post, the way Twitter works is, if you reply to somebody who is not the one who started the conversation, like if you're not, like, let's say person A makes a post, and then person B responds to it. If person C responds to person B, then unless they make sure to uncheck person A, they will also respond to person A. So it's kind of like reply all by default. You can make it reply to only such and such a person, but it's reply all by default if you're posting in the middle of a conversation. So I had posted relatively early, which actually kind of benefited me, because I got to see the whole conversation play out, but like, my notifications fucking blew up. It was like I made a viral post, except I didn't. Like, I was just getting mentioned in other people's posts because I had been there earlier. So they weren't talking to me, but I was getting notifications anyway. And just shit kept coming out. And, like, it went on for hours. Like, it was crazy. Like, I saw it in the evening, and eventually at, like, 2:30 in the morning, I'm like, this is fascinating. I'm going to bed, and I'll see what happens tomorrow. So
Bye, everybody. Good luck.
Well, no, I mean, I hadn't been posting for a long time. I'm just seeing my notifications blowing up and seeing where the conversation threads go, because they can go into all sorts of different directions. So I get up the next day, and I'm like, obviously the conversation didn't stop there. Like, there's no way it stopped the moment I left by pure coincidence. So let's see how long it kept going for. But it was actually still going. And I was like,
Jesus.
whoa!
Jesus.
This thing went on for, like, around 48 hours. Like, that's a lot. So there were a whole bunch of things that, at least within Channel Awesome, those people, like, I wasn't privy to a lot of that information because I joined the site later, but a lot of those people probably knew this stuff already, with some exceptions, like, oh, I hadn't heard that story, but now it was all kind of coming together, and there was information on there that would be deal breakers. And some of it gets a little bit on the darker side too. Like, we're not talking like murder, but like some of it would be like, I would like to leave now. So, and you know, eventually a lot of people did. But I'm not going to go into juicy details, but believe me, you can have your fucking fair share if you go looking for them. It's not hard to find. But it's just been like a lot of stuff has come out at once. So it got to the point where some people decided, and this is not available for everyone to read, but some people are trying to compile like all this information on a Google Doc that's gonna just, I don't know what they're gonna do with it. Maybe it's even just to have, but they're gonna have it. So it's just gonna be like a lot of information, kind of like, all right, we find, like, a lot of us knew this, but we finally have it here in writing, like that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So like again, I don't have any crazy stories of things that made me so mad, but like a lot of people do. Some of it worse than others. So there's a lot of that going on, and this is kind of what I was alluding to on Tuesday, which is why I'm stepping down. Like, I don't want to silently look the other way while I can't even necessarily say shit is going down, but shit has gone down and nothing's being done about it. So
yeah, you don't want to be there, because then it's like, now that you know what's going on, you feel like you're a part of it.
That's the thing. That's kind of the thing. Like,
you're associated with it.
Yeah, like I mentioned, like, again, it doesn't get this dark, but like the Harvey Weinstein stuff in Hollywood, it's like Harvey Weinstein is obviously the problem, but the people who knew about it and said nothing are arguably collectively a bigger problem, because like it's just a whole system allowing this shit to continue. So that's kind of like, to a much lesser degree, what was happening in Channel Awesome. A lot of people have left. Like, and this is over the years, but actually as of like today and yesterday meaning like the past Sunday and Friday. So by the time this podcast goes public, it'll be several days ago. But a bunch of people left kind of like in rapid succession. And some of them were the bigger ones. Like Linkara, the comic book reviewer, left. He's been there since like the beginning. He's one of like the staples of the site. So like he has his own website and the YouTube channel, but like he's been there since like the beginning. So it was kind of like it was a big deal for him to leave. Actually, a lot of the site's main staples have left at this point. But like I didn't think he was gonna do it. So it's getting to that point. Like Mike J has left. I freaking love Mike J as well. He's he has a series called Shameful Sequels, where he reviews piece of shit sequels to movies. The first movie might not have been
Stone Keep 2.
Oh boy. Like the first movie may or may not have been good, but the sequel's bad. that's the takeaway here. So like he's reviewed like the Baby Geniuses movies, which is hilarious. So you can imagine how fun those were. And Linkara, of course, I mentioned, has done like a Top the Fourth Wall. He's been reviewing comic books for like 10 years, I think even longer. Before he was on the website, he had done like text reviews. So he's been doing comic reviews for freaking ever. So there's like a lot of this, but like a lot of these people are just leaving the site. This doesn't mean they're quitting doing what they do, but
just the site
not going to be part of the aggregate site anymore. Yeah. So again, I know I'm not really covering any of the actual drama. I'm just like, oh, there's been stuff going down, but like, and I'm not telling you actually what it is, but trust me, you can find it. If you go to Twitter, the thread was started innocuously enough by Obscurus Lupa, but there's also like it at this point it can be hard to find even that tweet because I don't think she pinned it, but there is a Twitter account. This was a thing, like the Channel Awesome website used to have a person just post like on Twitter the videos when they would come out. So like each day, here's like the 6 videos that are going to be on the front page of the site. So that person on Twitter would be like, hey guys, new video from this producer, check it out. And they would be that person. Yeah. That person doesn't do that anymore, and has also become disillusioned with the site. So her channel, or her Twitter has been named like Unawesomes, like
Jesus.
like awesome with an S at the end and a UN at the beginning. And the reason I mention Unawesomes is that her pinned tweet is pretty much where that whole conversation started. So if you want to read, just get out of like a bowl of popcorn, like even though like I'm telling you, like it's ludicrous. And there's a lot of stuff from like some of the really old members of the site who were gone and before I even joined that like I never even knew about. And again, some of it is more like whoa than others. But there's, even if it's like small things, there's a lot of shit to talk about. And again, nothing has affected me personally, but like I do not want to be involved, especially because,
I don't blame you.
Yeah, especially because the higher ups, like the head of the site, you could argue, was a lot of the problem, but the like people like the Nostalgia Critic, like they weren't generally like what's causing people to be like furious and want to leave, but also though like some people were like kind of like like knowing and complicit, and I'm not gonna name names, but like you could find at least something on Twitter anyway, but like.
Like clean your house, like
that's the thing, and they did do a degree of that, but not nearly enough, and this was years ago. Now, and I another reason I'm not really mentioning the drama specifically is that like I said, a lot of it's on Twitter. You can read it. Like Twitter is designed to be public, unless they've privatized their profile. They want people to read it, but like it's not my story.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Lotus Prince, like, what do you know? Oh, I'll tell you. And it's like, what is that? Like, I'm telling what happened to other people years ago. Like, hey, everybody, look at me. Like, that's fucking disingenuous. So, like, or I don't know if disingenuous is the right word, but not cool. So, but like again, if you are interested, you will find it. So you can check that out on Twitter. But anyway, yeah, like I had mentioned that my Tuesday podcast was probably my announcement of stepping down, so I'll probably be off the site by the time you hear this. But yeah, so if you're hearing this, it's probably just on like via YouTube. So yeah, that's like, again, that was a lot of talking without too much substance, but you can find the substance. It's more of like a setup for it if you're interested. But long story short, there's toxicity, not necessarily among the producers, but like behind the scenes, that's been kept reasonably secret. So yeah, not going to be involved with that.
Yeah,
so that's my fun reactive for this week. So Vyse, I don't know. You did tell me you had a subject to talk about, but like we'll see if it's more upbeat than mine.
Yeah,
we'll find out. Yeah, yeah.
It is.
Is it really?
So, longtime listeners of both shows will know that I'm really into upgrading my video game setup. I'm always looking for some way to make it a little bit better. Luckily, it's kind of been a renaissance for that in the last like 2 years or so.
Yeah.
Especially with the advent of like upscalers and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and coincidentally, EverDrives and flash cards, optical drive emulators, and RGB mods and HDMI mods have all kind of crept up around the same time. So it's been a really good time for classic gaming.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably no time that's been better with a lot of the fan projects that have gone on. And I'm lucky enough to have been able to obtain almost all the best stuff. So here's the thing. Part of the reason why I like talking about it is because of how difficult it is to kind of keep up on it. Mostly because there's not a good place where it's all distributed out of. A lot of these things are made by fans. They're made by people that love it a lot and are just doing it for fun.
Because the thing is, like, there are sites like Stone Age Gamer where you can buy flash cartridges for almost any system you want. So like, that's awesome. But then like the optical drive mod for the Dreamcast and the Saturn, and I think soon the PC engine, like that's a guy from Poland. There's that switch you use to give the Dreamcast toggle between VGA and RGB.
That's from Turkey.
That's from Turkey.
Yeah. The thing I just bought is from Spain. Like,
yeah,
wow. Some of it's from Australia.
The Super NT is from America. There's been stuff.
The Sio is from Australia.
Yeah, that's right. The Sio is from Australia. Yep, that was the Australian thing. You gotta just find these people or go to a forum where somebody knows who they are.
Yeah, and they're probably not like storefronts, let's say, that you can
No,
find
they're
them at.
not.
You have to go to the deep, not necessarily the deep dark hidden parts of the internet, but you have to know what you're looking for.
You have
Yeah.
to know exactly what you're looking for. You're not just going to stumble upon it. You're going to need to seek it out. You need to know
Yeah.
exactly what it's called a lot of the times, and you need to
Yep.
catch it on a good day, because a lot of this stuff is made in small batches, because these people can't afford. First of all, they're making them for a niche audience.
Yeah, like they can run their own business, but they don't have like a storefront.
Well, yeah, they're making it for people that are willing to spend a good amount of money for what it is.
Yeah.
Like, I realize what this stuff is, and how much it can improve what I like, but like, to the layperson, it might not mean much of a difference. So, but to me, it's a huge difference. But they make small batches of these things. They don't have extra inventory. They also don't have people testing their stuff, other than people that might be early adopters that say, hey, you should fix this for the next revision.
Yeah, I was gonna say like customer feedback or something. Yeah,
exactly.
And speaking of which, sometimes the customers even take a step further, like the aforementioned guy from Poland with his Dreamcast and Saturn optical drive stuff. He didn't have a menu system, so like, a fan made a menu system for his, like, an esoteric mod for his esoteric mod. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and like, you go down the rabbit hole, like, people that just like coded for these specific things that are already like obscure as hell and esoteric as hell. And the thing is, you may need to wait like a half a year until another batch of things comes out.
Yeah, like with the SIO.
And you have to watch it, their websites, every day. Yeah, and all of a sudden it'll just pop up and say, hello, we have them.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, usually they'll give you a few days in advance, but like after like
really
5 months of silence, so it
really depends, though. So of course, what I'm talking about this time around is I got the second batch of Super SD System 3s. So Super SD System SD System 3, I'm sorry, it is a creation by Terra Onion, who also made the first working Neo Geo cart, a flash cart. And so that came out last year, and it works great. You can get it for an MVS or an AVS, AES system. And I of course got it for my I got an MVS version for my my Omega Neo Geo, and it's worked great. There's been some drama surrounding around that, because these guys are from Spain, and they came out of nowhere, and there was like a popular arcade hacker that was already working on a flash cart, and they beat him to market. And there's always a lot of drama in the Neo Geo community for some reason or other.
There's always a lot of drama in any community for some reason.
Yeah, but the Neo Geo community is like a bunch of babies. I'll probably incur some wrath for calling them a bunch of babies, but they should know it.
The thing is, there is drama in any community, but there are some communities
they're
where like
bad.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that's the one that's known for its drama.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's an inclusive group, because the games cost like hundreds of dollars, and the hardware costs hundreds of dollars. It's not like a normal system. Collecting for it is like takes a lot of money, and so the people that are in it are very dedicated, and only somebody that is that dedicated would be involved with it for that long. So I can understand why it's so inclusive like that, but man, are they like a bunch of 12-year-olds. But anyway, so they basically started this war with the guys who were working on it. Started this war with the Spanish company who did nothing wrong. The Spanish guys like just beat them to market and like killed it. They did really well. The only thing that is not that great about the flash cart that they came out with is that it has kind of slow loading times. When you pick a new ROM, it takes a little bit of time for it to flash, but it works perfectly otherwise. There's no glitches. It works fantastic. there are basically no complaints other than the loading times.
Yes,
which I think is a minor thing.
Well, I was going to say that's the thing. Like, when you hear, how long does it actually take? Like 30 seconds or something, or 60 seconds?
Maybe 30 to 60 seconds, depending on the game.
Because here's the thing. If when you're loading up a game, that's a long time. But at the same time, though, like...
You're typically playing one game at a time.
That's the thing. It's not like you're on the PC playing ZSNES. You're like, let me click through 100 games.
No,
like,
you're
just to
just
see what happens.
You're playing Windjammers for a night. You know, you're doing something like that. You're picking a specific game to play it. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, they even improved it with firmware updates. So like it got better over time anyway. But there were like no graphical glitches or anything. It was like basically fully formed right out of the gate, like out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And of course, there was a lot of sour grapes on the guy who was working on it forever. You know.
I do understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, but like he was attacking them rather than like...
Well, that's the thing. You're supposed to get mad at I can't believe this happened rather than get mad at the people who did it.
Yeah.
So it created a war between like, you know, people that were... There were two separate camps when it should just be, you know, buy the better product. That's it. You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you can come up with something better... And so to this day, the guy who was Sour Grapes still hasn't come out with his, and they're coming out with an updated version. The Spanish company's coming out with an updated version.
He spent so much of his time complaining that he didn't actually get his shit done.
No, yeah. Well, you know what this means? Nobody expects the Spanish Neo Geo cart.
Well, the Terra Onion one, the Pro version, is supposed to kick ass. Like it's done. Like you don't need another one.
Nice.
It has all the features you'd ever want and barely any loading times.
Huh.
So
okay.
It's done. Like you don't need anything else. So this company out of nowhere too, like they make their announcements. They said, "Oh well, we have this new hardware. It's available now." You know, most things are like, "Hey, this is coming out in a year. I hope."
Yeah.
You know, no, they just come out like fully formed, like done.
Version 1.0. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So. The SD System 3 is an optical drive emulator for the PC Engine, or TurboGrafx 16. You can hook it up to both. You can hook it up to basically any of the core models. So a TurboGrafx 16, a PC Engine core graphics unit, Super Graphics, like any of the ones that basically just takes cue cards. And what it does is it is a one-stop shop of everything you could ever want for a TurboGrafx system. It allows you to play all of the HuCard games, like all the cartridge games, whether they're Japanese or American, all of them. It also allows you to use all the different BIOS upgrades that happened over the years, like the Super System card that are hard to find and are essential to playing the upgraded CD games. There are the thing with that system is it was like the 32X but even worse. You know, like it was they had cue card games, they had Super Graphics cue card games, then they had CD-ROM games, and then they had Super CD-ROM games, and then they had arcade CD-ROM games.
God damn.
That's 5 formats for one system.
Yeah.
Like, who would have thought it got worse than CD32X games?
Yeah, there were 3 formats on Genesis. There were 5 on this system. And so, like, it is very hard to play all the games. It just is. It's still hard to play all the games because you need to have a Super Graphics to play the Super Graphics games, even with this thing. I mean, I happen to be lucky and happen to have bought one before, like, collecting got stupid on that system. But I bought mine for like $200. You can't find one for like under $500-$600 now. So anyway, and there are like 6 games for it exclusively. It's less than the 32X. I mean,
and they're like not even that great.
They're not essential. They're fun. I like them, but they aren't the essential games for the system by any stretch. In fact, like 2 of the better games for the systems are Capcom games that have better ports elsewhere.
Yeah, you told me one of them was like Ghouls and Ghosts, right?
Yeah, it's Ghouls and Ghosts, the second My Kaimora game, the sequel to Ghosts and Goblins. The Genesis version's better.
Is it?
I'll just straight up say it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Genesis version's great. Go for that version. 1941 is a port of the arcade game. There are ports of that arcade game, direct arcade ports of that game. You can get that anywhere. There is like a semi. There's a really good looking platformer that doesn't play all that well called Grand Zort.
Grand Zorts?
Grand Zort. It has to do with an anime or something. And then there is a game called Battle Ace, which is a very terrible flight sim. And there is one exclusive 2D shmup that is okay. It looks pretty, but it's not like the best game on the system.
What's it called?
It's called Aldeness.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, it's super obscure. It just looks really like a really pretty, 16-bit game.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Way prettier than like a 32X game would look like, kind of like with lots of layers of parallax scrolling and that kind of thing, and a lot of color. Kind of like Tempo would look like, on the 32X or Knuckles Chaotix. It looks better than the stock system.
Yeah,
for sure. So anyway, you could play any of those, and you can also play any of the CD games, like any of them straight up, and you don't need a CD system. You can play the whole library of games with this thing, and it also has RGB out, like on the actual unit that comes with it, so you can stick a SCART cable into it.
Does it have HDMI out?
It doesn't have HDMI out. That's like the only thing that you could want. But like if you have a FrameMeister, this thing's great. I mean, you can also do composite out of it as well. But you get the idea here. Like it is pretty much like you would need to RGB modify your TurboGrafx in order for it to output RGB SCART. It has the ability to. You don't need to. The lines just need to be set up for it. It's not like the system needs a special chip in order to do it like the NES did.
Yeah.
But it's neat. It's awesome. It sounds great. It's fantastic. Optical drive emulators need to happen because the optical discs, any CD, DVD, Blu-ray are eventually going to die from bit rot. These things aren't going to last forever. This is the way that we ensure that that history stays alive.
And then we've mentioned this before, but this is especially true not for what you were saying with bit rot, but this is especially true now for the Sega Saturn, where like its entire library is like on the verge of disappearing. Yeah,
exactly. So I wanted to say that I got mine up and running. I have it hooked up to my Super Graphics, and I tested it out by playing some Gate of Thunder, which is probably my favorite shmup on the system, and Star Parodier, which is like a funny version of the Star Soldier games.
Well, why wouldn't you play like the classic, iconic Keith Courage?
I didn't, but I did play a little Dracula X, so I was happy.
An actual good game, okay.
I don't know why you do that, but yeah.
Why would you waste your time?
I also wanted to update people and let people know that I had sent out my N64 to be modded because I got my Ultra HDMI in the mail. And the modder who's taking care of it, he was like, hey, I can do a couple other things. I can change the LED color. I can do a whole bunch of things for you.
Oh, cool.
Like I have a whole line of services. And I was like, okay. I'm not going to change the LED because I like red and black. I think they go well together. But you could change it to blue if you wanted, which is pretty neat.
Does he do paint jobs? Because you should have him paint Sonic the Hedgehog on your N64.
Keith Courage.
This is back when Nintendo and Sega were actually rivals, and Sonic was not on every system ever.
Yeah. But no, he was just like, I'm done the modification, which is apparently a tough modification to do. He did it in like basically a week, which is great.
Really?
Yeah, he just like straight up did it. He's a guy in New Jersey, Neptune, New Jersey.
Because the guy who did the guy at Classic Game Junkie who did my mod, he must have done a different kind of mod because he said it wasn't a big deal.
Oh, well, yeah, whatever. But anyway, he was like, oh, and I can also install like a region mod. Because the cartridges, it has like really thick plastic tabs. Unlike the Super Nintendo is very easy to mod; you could just snap them out.
Yeah.
The N64 has like big plastic blocks, and if you try to shave them out, it looks terrible. He said he made a 3D printed new inside for the N64.
Oh man!
So you could just put in import games, and he's like, I could do this for you for $10, and I was like, why not?
Christ's sake, okay.
So yeah, he also did a full cleaning of it and like did a total overhaul of the system. So yeah, I'm very happy.
The thing with cleaning of systems, this is something a lot of people don't think about, including me. Like every once in a while, it's like, oh, my computer tower, I should clean that out. But like, it just never occurs to me with consoles except to like dust them or something. And, like, who's going to open up their consoles except to mod them? But, like,
yep.
We're talking PS1, Saturn, N64. These things are 20 years old. If you open one for the first time right now, it's probably pretty nasty. Like, you will... Like, when Vyse did my Saturn mod, it was just like, oh.
I cleaned it out, yeah.
Yeah, and, like, you had to as well. You weren't like, hey, you know what? I'll also clean it out. Like, no, the inside of the thing was just straight up dirty. It's just, like, dust everywhere.
So I'm really excited to get that back. This mod, the HDMI mod, not only upscales the system to 1080p, but it also deblurs the system. It takes away the anti-aliasing.
Yup.
Which is my main complaint of the hardware.
And you could also adjust gamma, I think.
You could do all kinds of stuff with it. It's really a marvelous upgrade. It's like an essential upgrade.
And again, I'm sure it might look a little janky with like Ocarina of Time, but with 2D stuff like Mischief Makers, it probably looks freaking crazy.
It'll look good. It'll look good. And so the same website that I bought the chip off of, the guy who sells the chip does not do the modding. He has like a bunch of like preferred modders, and this guy's one of the preferred modders.
How fortunate that he's in, New Jersey.
Yeah. He's close by. I've been waiting for this forever because I wanted an analog NT Mini, but I don't know what's going on with those. They haven't sold them for a long while now. I think they're going to either got in trouble, or they are either they're redesigning it. I'm hoping they're redesigning it, but I think they may have gotten in trouble, and not from Nintendo. I think they might have gotten in trouble with the jailbroken firmwares that have been released. I think maybe one of the manufacturers of one of the other consoles that was put out on the jailbroken firmware may have gotten mad. That's just my hunch. I don't have any source of news on that, but the thing that's pointing me to it is the fact that the jailbroken firmware was put out by the guy who made the analog NT Mini, and he released it on forums. Now it's being released by a third party, and they say they don't tell you, like the ones for the Super NT. The jailbroken firmware for that, first of all, do not include other systems, and are also released by a third party, aka not somebody who made it.
Interesting.
But it's being released within the same day as the official firmwares, so that makes you think it's probably the guy who made it that's still putting them out, but is for some reason distancing himself from it. For whatever reason. So that's what I'm thinking happened. So I'm hoping they're putting out a redesigned one, but I'm not going to wait for it. And I'm not going to wait around and wait to see if they do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things. So I had been waiting for the stock on the HDMI mod for the NES to get another batch, another wave out. And these things have been out of stock for like months. And finally they put them up again yesterday. So
nice.
I was able to get that, and hopefully my modder can take care of this on my AV Famicom. I don't really need an NT Mini if I have an HDMI AV Famicom, because that HDMI mod is fantastic.
Yeah.
So my AV Famicom can play any of the games anyway with a flash card. So
yeah, and I have an AVS, so like it's not quite as pimped out as the NT Mini, but it does but I have all the features I want.
Yeah. So I also just wanted to mention real quick that I got all the accessories that I needed for the OSSC, which is another upscaler. They finally came out with an overlay for the remote, just like the FrameMeister did.
Oh, so, cool. Good.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the future, more HDMI mods, hopefully, because
please.
No one wants an old TV.
Yeah, the whole idea is to get rid of the FrameMeister eventually.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I like it, it is an unnecessary piece of hardware.
Theoretically, yeah, because again, I think we mentioned this a very long time ago. We haven't talked about this aspect of the FrameMeister in a while, but if you ever change resolution within the game, yeah, the example that Vyse usually gives is Final Fantasy 8 or something, where the game is in 240p, but the menus are in 480i.
Oh, yeah.
So whenever you go to use inventory, all of a sudden the screen goes black, 1, 2, and you're at the menu. And from what people had said on forums, I didn't even know about this, but apparently Resident Evil 2 does that.
Mm-hmm. There are plenty of games that do it.
Yeah, Resident Evil 2 though, that basically makes the game unplayable.
Yeah.
Because you're constantly being attacked, and if you ever need to reload or use a healing item, you can't wait. You can't wait multiple seconds. So with an HDMI mod, I mean, again, the FrameMeister is great for the output that it gives you when it can. But if you can circumvent that, then I suggest that you do. Now that I have
it's imperfect.
Yeah, now that I have an HDMI mod from the N64, and now you will as well, Vyse, that's a problem I didn't even realize was a thing. I just never assumed that would happen for the N64. I figured it was a PS1, PS2, and onward problem. But nope.
And the Sayo guys actually thanked us for giving them a plug when
I saw that. That was super cool. By the way, on top of that, were you going to mention what they were going to say as well?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. They're thinking of coming out with a Sega CD optical drive emulator.
I would kill for that.
Freaking wait for that. Yeah.
The Sega CD isn't as bad as the Saturn in terms of everything being rare and expensive, but most of the stuff is rare, and not all of it. There's a lot of just couple buck games, but
some of the games are well over $100, $200.
I was gonna say the expensive stuff is very expensive.
I mean, I have all the most expensive stuff, but I bought it way before it got there.
Yeah, I didn't. I got Snatcher for $250 or $200 or something, and
I got it for $75.
Yeah,
bargain, man.
Mine. I think I paid $200 for mine, and that was a deal at the time.
It's $400, $500 game now.
Yeah, the thing, the Sega CD is not made of expensive games, but like I said, the top 5.
Popful Mail is up there, and
the top
Cobra,
games are quite.
Space Adventure is up there.
Yeah, I think it's called The Space Adventure, but it's obviously Space Adventure Cobra. Popful Mail. The big games are way up there. That's Soulstar. That's one of the cheaper.
That's up there now.
That's one of the less expensive games, but it's up there. Yeah. And for those of you who don't know what Soulstar is, that's what if Star Fox were really good.
Sprite-based.
I know that people have nostalgia for the old Star Fox, but that game runs at 10 FPS. Soulstar looks fucking good. Star Fox has more personality with the team. Like, there's way more to, like...
I think
there's more babba-da-babba-babba.
And it's
yeah,
more
but,
than,
like, Soulstar looks gorgeous and smooth.
I think Star Fox 2 was what it offered at the time was groundbreaking, but it
Star Fox 2,
age very well.
No, Star Fox 2, the ability to switch into walking mode on the fly, like, I first saw that in college on, like an incomplete...
Forum or something?
No, like, an incomplete ROM. Like, I saw it on YouTube. Somebody was playing, like, a ROM that was, like, 85-90% complete, and they were playing through the first level, and just going, well, boom, we're walking. Well, boom, we're flying. Like, I never thought that the Super Nintendo could pull that shit. Like, never. But at the same time, the game runs at, like, literally 5 or 6 frames per second. Like, if, like, I saw it run on Games Done Quick, because it was the first year they could do it. Holy shit. Like, if you saw that on a game today, you would think, like, what's wrong with my game? It's lagging. But that's basically a consistent frame rate for that game. Like, if there were explosions, it's like,
Well, you know, I just wanted to give an update on this stuff because I'm really getting into it. I mean, I have pretty much all the ones I want now. But, like, I'm really looking forward to whatever the hell else is coming out as well. So, I'll keep everybody updated, but I'm really excited at the prospect of, you know, new ways to play old stuff, you know. So that's the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and Soundcloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. Helps us promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep Lotus happy.
yeah, and no one else.
You can also catch us on Tuesday on our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, the podcast about our lives and pop culture. Finally, you can friend me as Vyse the Bold on
there's a callback for you
on Steam, PSN, Xbox Live, Twitter, Battle.net, Switch, and where all books are sold.
Sure. You could follow me on my channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, currently doing Zack and Wiki, or even selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
And you can find me, PyroJackFrost, on all the things that I mentioned in every other podcast I've been on before today.
Including Kindle.
Including Kindle.
Yeah, he's good old Kindle PyroJackFrost, we call him. Never stops talking about that Kindle.
Kindling, because it's Pyro.
Ooh, very true.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Catch you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Until next time, everyone.
On Tuesday.